a fire hydrant, a very American-looking fire hydrant that looks like this. They're
Okay, you have to admit that's iconic. That's 100% iconic. Looks like a fireman. I guess makes sense. What's up, my friend? Today I'll be reacting to 7 outdoor objects I never saw before moving to America. I have no idea what Lawrence is going to talk about. But before I go into that, can I ask you for one thing? If you can leave a like, thank you so much. It's the best way to show support. If you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Now, link for the original video in my description. Give Lawrence some love. That said, well, let's play it.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond. And speaking of lost, I'm starting to lose my marbles being in quarantine so long.
Oh,
and
those
being
times.
here for now, I think it's 8 days. I've been giving some thought to some of the things that I miss about the outside world. And,
Okay.
you know, I'm not just talking about sort of fast food joints that are different in both countries, but sort of just really random mundane objects. You know, like a wheelbarrow, for example. I'm not suggesting we don't have wheelbarrows in England. That's an example of a mundane object. And I want to talk about specifically 7 of those objects that I hadn't seen until I moved to America.
I'm actually quite curious. Still water towers.
I'm really longing for those water towers, steel water towers specifically, because we do have water towers in Britain, but they're concrete and look really brutal.
Oh, this is true. The ones we also have here, I think most of them are also concrete. Oh, but you guys have steel. I mean, not that matters that much, I'm assuming, but oh, this is a very interesting point actually made by Lawrence. I never thought about this one.
Brutalist and like they were made in the 60s.
You know one thing, I don't even know how those water towers work. You know.
In America, all across the country, they have these kind of water towers that are they're in the middle of nowhere usually, and they're made of steel, and on the facade of them, they have the name of the town, and it's usually something like Snakesville. And you never see anybody near them or in them. I don't know what they'd be doing in them, perhaps replenishing the water. I don't know how water towers work. I just know that America has a lot of them, and you see them when you're on the highway, motorway, just like our next entry.
Okay. Highway billboards.
Yes, highway-based billboards. Who would have thought? I certainly wouldn't have until I moved to the United States. And that's because we don't really have them in Britain. We do have them in city centres, but you're not going to find them on the side of the road, you know, because it's distracting, especially when it says something, you know, profound like Jesus has risen. You're going to take notice of that and, you know, crash into the car in front of you. And if you don't have insurance, then you are screwed. Ironically, a lot of the billboards are for...
Okay, let me think about this one, my friends. Actually, let's read this one. Insurance is boring, so we made saving easy. Okay, dude. Okay, this is really interesting in the sense that I feel like we have those here in Portugal, but probably not in the same level as you guys have in America. A lot of those type of billboards, they are nowadays, for example, there is an election soon in my country, and they are all related with politics, you know what I mean? But I don't mind those, but they can maybe distract you when you are driving, to be honest.
Insurance, so at least you know who to call. I joked a moment ago about the kinds of things you might see on American highway billboards, but the truth is anyone can really get an ad on those things. They often say advertise here if there's nothing on it. And unless you have A, no heart, and B, a death wish, you also wouldn't want to crash into the back of one of these.
Oh, I talked about this the other day. This is, okay, I know this sounds really weird, my friends. I know it sounds really weird, but this is one of the things I want to see when I go to America, you know, because I grew up watching that on cartoons, TV shows, stuff like that, and I always end up finding them super beautiful. I know, André, that's a very regular thing to us. Well, it is what it is, my friends. I never saw one. I specifically relate this a lot with Simpsons, you know what I mean? Because of the Bart and Lisa going in the yellow school bus. Oh, I love those.
Yellow school buses. I didn't grow up here as a child, so of course I never got to ride one. Probably never will, unless I become a bus driver or a parent on some sort of school trip. Do they do that? I don't know. But the fact of
could
the
happen.
matter is, growing up, I did see school buses, yellow school buses, in films like Superman and Forrest Gump. Those are just examples
Oh,
of
good example.
films. But, I didn't think they existed in real life. This was quite a revelation to me. They're everywhere.
Okay, wait. No, I knew they exist in the real. Okay, what? uh, okay, this I disagree because I assumed if they are showing us, if there is multiple movies, multiple TV shows, cartoons that have the yellow school bus, those are real. Lawrence, come on.
It's not just in Indiana
this is
where
a
I
fancy
lived. It's
one.
also in Chicago. It's everywhere. I mean, you do see these yellow school buses everywhere, and I recognise that the majority of my audience is American, and this is probably profoundly weird to hear somebody talk about how yellow school buses are very widespread in this country. But I don't think they're used anywhere else in the world, or at least to my knowledge. They're certainly not used in Britain. I used to get to school by jogging. That's not true. I did take the bus, but it was one of those sort of stagecoach buses, double decker. So I got to sit on top, not at the back with the cool kids.
Okay, to be honest, I have to say one thing. The UK buses, I also find them quite iconic, the red ones. But I know this sounds weird, my friend, but this is something I would love. I would love even to touch one. That's all. This I know. Look, I don't want to spoil the list, but I would not be surprised if this is my number one pick
At the front actually,
to eventually see when I go to America.
but they weren't yellow, and as you can see, I like yellow. I'm wearing this in solidarity with the school children. I'm not. It's the first thing I found in my wardrobe. I'd be lying if I said that yellow school buses were the only outdoor object that I learned through the films. That also applies to our next entry.
Let's see it. White picket fences. Sorry. Yeah, this is also quite iconic, I have to admit. I saw those a lot in the movies, and they are kind of beautiful.
White picket fences, the like of which you see in the film American Beauty and other such suburban-based films. It reminds me of American suburbia now that...
But this is more enriched zones. Am I saying something crazy? But that's the idea I had.
I've lived here long enough, but for the longest time, it was just part of the sort of movie set for me to make something look very pristine and idyllic and all of that.
Yeah.
You'll occasionally see white picket fences here in different parts of Chicago. They're kind of rare, I suppose. But you do tend to see them at houses of families who've really taken care of their garden, okay? And in Britain, we don't have these kind of fences. A lot of our gardens are sort of framed off by brick walls or sometimes just shrubs and bushes and things. That's not a euphemism. You'll also see in the US mesh fences around gardens as well. They're kind of low down, they're just high enough that dogs can jump over them, but never...
I believe those are a bit more practical, right, my friends? But I think the others are a bit more beautiful. Would you guys agree with that?
do because they're too stupid, and they seem like they're there to just sort of stop people from breaking in, especially those fences that have beware of the dog on the side. Now please, America, or anyone watching this, don't take this as a green light to think you can go and burgle people's houses in Britain. They still have security measures and fences too. I'm underplaying it, but we don't have white picket fences. We also don't have...
By the way, those type of fences here, very rare. Both. What we have, honestly, is concrete, I don't know, it's not concrete fence sounds weird, but basically, a wall.
Of these. Allow me to clarify, our houses do have mailboxes in the United Kingdom, except our mail doesn't go into a mailbox, it goes into a letterbox, and our mail's called the post. I hope that was clear. And those letterboxes are usually on the front door, right? So
Okay, letterboxes are a bit rare in my country, but at one point ended up being popular.
Letterman or postman, that's Letterman is a chat show host. Postman, post women, post people, right? They have to go right up to the door and become intimate with your house. Not so in the United States, or at least not always. You will have those kind of houses where just in front of their garden or yard, they'll have a mailbox that's sticking on kind of a pole, and there's just this tube.
Oh, that's beautiful, but I like those in red. That's another thing that I find really iconic,
tube, I suppose, a metal tube into which you put things, and then people have to go out and get it. I suppose it does promote exercise, which is needed in these quarantine days. We just don't want to come into contact with the post people or mail people. It doesn't matter what you call them; they're the same entity. Well, the different people. You get the point, basically. Don't touch the post people. And if you do, wash your hands for 20 seconds with soap, making sure not to get your water from one of these.
Cylindric fire hydrants. Okay. We have those, but they are ugly. I believe I know what he's talking about.
I'll tell you a story. When I was 19 years old, I was a big gamer. I was well into video games, and one of the video games that I played was a little game called Die Hard with a Vengeance. And you're just swanning around New York City,
Never
I
heard
think,
about.
probably, and you can crash your car into just stuff, right? And one of those stuffs was a fire hydrant, a very American-looking fire hydrant that looks like this.
Okay, you have to admit that's iconic. That's 100% iconic. Looks like a fireman. I guess makes sense. That's super iconic. The ones we have here, ugly. Ugly. Shame. Shame on us. Those, iconic. I like it.
Like this. They're more or less cylindrical, speaking in a pitch that only dogs recognise, and I only described them as that to differentiate them from fire hydrants in Britain. Fire hydrants in Britain are nowhere near as sexy, and believe me, I didn't think I'd wake up today and say that either.
Neither
they're just
in
these
Portugal.
brutalist-looking square things with an H on them,
Oh,
and
no,
they're not for landing miniature helicopter.
Okay, that's really ugly. The ones we have are a bit better, but still not as good as the American ones.
Nor do they signify a hospital. I actually don't know what they do. If a fire breaks out in the middle of the road, when does that ever happen? I wouldn't know what to do. I don't know how to operate these
Me
things,
neither.
right? Who does? The experts. Whereas American fire hydrants are absolutely gorgeous. They kind of look like elongated fireman helmets. Was that on purpose? Again, for the benefit of the dogs.
Probably
It can't
it
have been, and
was.
I'm absolutely certain I wouldn't have made the correlation had I not been stuck in here for 8 days. I'm going mad. You know, how does the outside world look right now? Do people still have wind chimes? Do they still, do they still raise these? The
American flag. Yeah, I mean, I don't see American flags here, not gonna lie. I mean, but that's kind of expected, I would assume. To be honest, I know there is in my city, so I'm actually lying because I know there is a Portuguese immigrant that came back that ended up working for a lot of years in America. And he has an American flag. He's not exactly in my city; it's a bit far away. But when I go to that region, I see it, and he seems really proud about that, and I respect that. Even if he's Portuguese, but ended up spending so much of his life in America, this is something that makes me happy in a weird way because I love the fact that you guys are so patriotic about. Such an amazing country, in my opinion. I wish more countries, even my country, end up being a bit more like this. I really like this stuff, but I know that flag represents a lot of people, a lot of generations. A lot of people died to defend our freedom, because America kind of, in reality, defends / protects the world. So maximum respect, and I love that.
American flag, and I suppose there's a very good reason.
But to be honest, it will be quite amazing when I go to America. I drive to some type of neighbor and I see a lot of American flags because that eventually will happen, right, my friends? That would be. I may film that.
Reason as to
Is that legal?
why I didn't encounter this until I moved to America, and it's because it's America's flag, so that makes total sense right off the bat. I think in Britain, pound for pound, we probably, or at least when I lived there, didn't fly the flag, the British flag, as much as America tends to fly its flag. It's very culturally ingrained to do that, isn't it? My in-laws do it every.
But if you guys are not aware, I believe America is number one America is number one in a lot of stuff, but is number one in terms of. I believe the amount of flags that are sold, but I could be wrong, but I believe Britain, the UK region, or England. No, I'm not sure. But they are number 2 or number 3. So, interesting.
Everybody does it. Even educated fleas do it. That would be impossible. They don't have the strength to lift up fabric. But they're bloody smart, hence being educated. I don't know how I got sidetracked there. But yes, the US flag is absolutely everywhere. Again, this is not just something you'll see in films. And I think there's an understanding that Americans are deeply patriotic. How do you pronounce it? Let me know in the comments below.
Patriotic.
And it's not just outside of people's houses that you'll see these flags. You'll see them on the back of trucks. You'll see them hanging on sort of company buildings. Don't know why I pronounced it like that. And just sort of everywhere. I mean, it really is everywhere. Sometimes you'll see absolutely huge American flags, and you can usually see them for about 5 miles away. That way at least you know what country you're in. And so that's it. 7 outdoor objects I only encountered after moving to America. I just wanted to list those to remind us of what we're missing. I mean, admittedly, we're missing quite a bit more than those things. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS if you want more weird information like this. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that my videos don't get lost in the pond. And as ever, a big shout out to all of my patrons who make these videos possible. Without them, I wouldn't have
really
any
enjoyed
of
this video, my
These
friends.
videos wouldn't exist anymore. I would have given up 2 years ago. I certainly wouldn't.
Okay, let's just do a quick recap. Thanks, Lawrence. Amazing video. Okay, so water towers. This is interesting. Okay, I mean, I don't think it's that relevant, right? Billboards, also interesting, but more about what you guys advertise on those billboards that actually the billboard is itself, if that makes sense. This is my number 1 pick. 100%. So let's see the one he showed, because I thought was a beauty. Oh well, I guess I'm not finding. The white picket fences also really cool. Mailboxes, really cool. This one is insane. It's so nice. Okay. If I had to choose just 3 of the 7, I would go for sure yellow school buses. I have to see those. Mailboxes. I also find the American ones really beautiful. And the fire hydrants. Of course, the American flag is a bit different because is something a bit more serious to me. But of course, I would love to see those flags flying around in America. My friends, thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot that you guys end up spending this time with me. If you want to give me some type of extra support, take a look at my description. I have a Patreon community. You don't have to join. If you join, I appreciate it. That said, see you guys next time.